I was doing that. I was doing it in Staples.
How are you?
Okay, good evening. Apologize for the late start. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for December 4th, 2018. We are going to begin with a salute to the flag, and then I'm also going to ask people to remain standing for a brief moment of silence for President George Herbert Walker Bush and his passing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Pullen, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Bransky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents? Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Let the record show Mr. Dents is under the weather this evening, so he's not with us. Ms. Gallagher, can we have a summary of our executive session, please?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The board did meet in executive session this evening to discuss various matters involving personnel.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to begin this evening with a special guest here from Doylestown, kind of finishing up her first year as Recorder of Deeds. Ms. Robin Robinson is here to talk a little about her office and the pretty amazing things that she's been doing just in the past 11 or months or so. So, absolutely, sure. Sure, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harvey. Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm not going to take too much time. This is Gail Humphrey, my first deputy. And when we got into office and took over in January, we ran into a lot of issues. And the one that we're here about tonight is we found out that we had deed books. And we found out that they were in the warehouse on the floor on Almshouse Road, and I want to just bring these up to you to show you what they look like. So I was shocked. I was shocked to see these deed books on the warehouse floor, knowing that this is the history of our county. And when I saw them, I have to admit, one of the first things that went through my mind was, oh no, I'm responsible for these now. You know, this is on my watch. What am I going to do? So I learned from other Recorder of Deeds, I learned about other people's books and how they were getting them taken care of and fixed. And one of the ways was with money from the Record Improvement Fund that we collect when we record deeds and mortgages, and grants, which we have gone after. I think we've applied for 3 now. We just finished applying for one on Monday. And I decided to do what they do in New England and adopt a book program. So that's why I'm here tonight to speak to all of you. Falls, and I know you guys are excited looking at the book, Falls is a very important community in Bucks. It has so much rich history. And I'm not going to go through all the history because you probably all know it better than I do. But the history of Falls and the history of Bucks County are in these books. And as you can see, I marked a couple pages in there. That book is very impressive. That is an original book, has been redone. All the pages were washed. It was really amazing. Gail and I went to Vermont and watched the laboratory work on these books, and everybody's in white coats. It's extremely clean. They use little tools like dentists use to scrape tape off. Tape really damages books and pages, rather, paper. They use a Japanese linen to repair the rips and tears in these books. They're also sprayed with secret chemical treatment to keep them okay. The books are going to survive 500 years. In this new condition that they're in now. Not all the books are fixed. There's 700 books that need fixing, and this is one of the first 45 that have come back. You can see they're in a polyester archivable sleeve, the pages. Aren't you impressed?
Yeah.
So I really would love it if you all would help pay for one of these books. This book you're looking at right now was $4,400 to fix. Very reasonable. Some of them go up to $13,000. It just depends on the condition. They had mold, they had bugs. I was on Comcast Newsmakers and I took an old book with me and I opened it right there and bugs started flying in my face. I was very cool. You can watch the tape. You can't tell there's bugs flying in my face. But these poor books had bugs and, like I said, mold, and they were crumbling and just, well, you see the pictures, just awful. So Gail and I did bring a resolution with us tonight, if you need it, and any amount that you give us, we would be greatly appreciated of. We would also put your names in the book, you know, that this book was fixed, you know, by the Falls Township supervisors, the dates, your names, whatever you want. I would get a lot of press. I don't know if you've seen the press I've gotten, but I can't wait to say that Falls Township, you know, helped fix a book for this county, and you will be the first township to participate in this endeavor. So to me, that is so exciting, and I promise you the press will come. We can even bring the book here and put it on display with you, whatever you want. We're very flexible. Do you all have any questions? Because I don't want to take a lot of your time, because I do have a lot to say, but I really narrowed it down.
No, I appreciate, obviously, all the work you've done. Obviously, somebody who spent his life studying history, seeing the condition of the books is, I'm not sure if I'm angry or sad or both.
You should be.
Yeah, it just is kind of deplorable, quite frankly. So I really appreciate the work that you've done. The books, you know, I'm assuming as deeds, are they just completely chronological? Are they by? I mean, if we were going to restore a book, could we say it's a book of all Falls Township deeds? Is that possible or no?
No, that's
Okay.
not possible,
I wasn't sure how they were
because,
sorted.
you know, they're
Fine.
just recorded
No.
as they come in. This book happened to have some interesting Falls things in them, and we have others.
Right.
We have, you know, you can fix any book you want, Mr. Harvey.
If there's any interest. Good. Okay, do we have a number in mind in terms of, we'll make a motion in terms of donation to the Recorder of Deeds office for the repair of one of the deed books?
Well, how much are you did give us a figure for the books, right?
We could
Right.
do-
The book tonight that we were looking at was $4,400. They range anywhere from $2,600 up.
Oh, you got it, okay.
Because, you know, they've been left there for years, like 20 years they've been out there. If they hadn't have been moved out there, they wouldn't be in this bad condition. They have no air conditioning, they have no heat there. You see the pictures. It's just really
That's just
dreadful.
horrible.
Should never happen. And like I said, now it's on my watch, and I intend to fix it. And you all didn't ask me, what am I going to do with the books? Where am I going to put them? Can I answer that question, Bob,
Absolutely.
quick?
That's a good question.
It's a great question, because, you know, where am I going to put them? So we are in the process in the county of redoing the administration building. And in this big redo, they're going to give us storage in the old sheriff's department. We're going to have enough room for all 1,400 volumes. We have 700 books, but because they're so big, they turn into 2 volumes each. So we're going to have about 1,400 when all is said and done. So they'll be in temperature control, they'll be locked up, and when you come in and you want to see a book, right now, when a constituent comes in and wants to see a book, we have to produce that book, and we have to go to the warehouse and dig it out. So as soon as we're in that sheriff's department, which will be, they tell me in the summer, this coming summer, we'll be able to just go downstairs, get that book for you, and bring it up for you to see.
All right. Well, is there a motion anyone's interested in making?
The wording of the motion,
Well, the township will make a motion to donate,
$5,000.
okay?
That's
For
wonderful.
the repair of, for the Recorder of Deeds office to repair deed books. So that we're not saying one deed book you can pick, if you can, you know, fix
We'll
two of
put
them
your,
with that.
we'll put your name in 2 of them.
However it
So-
works. All right. Okay, so the motion
I'll
made.
second.
Motion made second. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you for-
really
thank you for
appreciate it,
coming
as
here
do all the
first.
people of Bucks County.
Yeah, thank you for coming here first, and we'll see if the rest of the county can match us or beat us. Good. The gauntlet's been thrown down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have just one name on the public comment sheet. Okay, Amy Ransley.
Hi, I'm Amy Ransley. I'm at 290 Yardley Avenue, and I'm not sure if this is the time I need to speak or it's about item 5. If I should wait till you get to item 5, or if I'm supposed to speak about that now, or even at a later date, like if it's, because it's,
Well, you can, actually, if you want to wait, we're going to take public comment. Oh, wait. Item 5, now wait a minute, because we did actually switch the agenda. So let's make sure, does your agenda at the top say revised agenda, the one you're looking at?
yes.
Okay. So we are going to be authorizing advertisement for that tonight. So we're going to be voting on just advertising it. Making the changes won't happen until the 18th?
No, it'd have to go out in January.
Oh, in January, excuse me. Okay, so
Okay.
it would be till January. But I mean, if you wanted to say something now about it, you could, but just so you know.
Well, I wasn't sure how it works. So you're going to advertise, and
We have
then
to
what happens
advertise.
after that? Then,
There's an advertisement period. It would appear like in newspapers, for example. That gives people a chance to see what the change would be, and they can ask questions, comment, and then it tells them when the meeting will be, so they can. It's notification, so people can come back and, like you're doing, and make comments or questions and things like that. So,
and when would that probably be, the question and comments?
any meeting that happens from the time we advertise, like tonight, until the time we vote on it. So we do have one more meeting this month. So you could always ask questions then about it. Like you said, you can free to ask questions now if you want. I didn't want to chase you away. I just was giving you the idea of how we're working it.
Well, I'll probably come back again, I'm sure, if this is going to be a change. But my questions were, like, for my property is Village Preservation Business. It's VPB, which is under the HD zoning. And they were advertising that they wanted to change that to regular NCR.
Okay.
And I was kind of wondering, why are they even moving us, and different questions of why they want to put us under regular residential when we're a business type property, stuff like that.
NCR would be neighborhood commercial residential, so it would fit.
No, it's Neighborhood Conservation Residential District. NC is neighborhood commercial.
So and I think there's a little bit of confusion. So item 5 has to do with one specific parcel that's at 515 South Olds Boulevard. That's not what you're talking about?
I'm talking about I thought it was about changing this letter that I received in the mail here.
Okay.
Right.
So
About
that,
changing a bunch of different zonings.
yes. So you're actually going to receive a new notice. That's actually going to be considered at the hearing on December 18th. And what is happening with that is there's about 8 parcels that are currently identified in the VPB district, which is a subset of NCR.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is essentially move it back into NCR, and then it will, you'll be able to still do everything in the VPB, but you'll also be able to do everything that was in the NCR, I'm sorry.
So it's kind of, the idea is not to make it more restrictive, but to sort of make it a little less restrictive.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Because I wasn't sure how that was. You said that it was part of NCR already.
Yes.
But under a separate part of NCR, which
It's
is a little bit more restrictive in terms of what you can do there.
It's essentially an overlay within the NCR right now, and we're removing the overlay so that way it opens up what people are able to do with their properties in that district.
Okay. Because when I read this, I don't see us being an overlay of NCR because there's semicolons, and each separate thing in HD is a separate type of requirements for those properties. And in that, since we're the third type of, what are we? We're the third type of property, that it doesn't fall under NCR. NCR falls under historic district and historic buildings in other districts. It doesn't fall under preservation business. The way I'm reading it, because of the semicolons. If it was a comma, I believe that it would fall under the NCR. But again, I'm not a lawyer and I didn't write this, but when I read this, it's not showing, because of a semicolon, not a comma, that we are not NCR.
Okay, and so what you were provided with was the actual legal notice, not the ordinance itself. What I can do, since this is going to be a hearing on the 18th, I can take down your information. I can give you a call tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can walk you through it specifically, because I don't know your specific property.
Right, I'm one of the 8 properties.
But I can take down your information, then I can hopefully
Okay.
answer some of your questions. And then the actual public hearing will be on the 18th for that
Okay.
property.
So, okay, and then, because then also, would you be the person I'd be able to ask these questions to and talk about this too?
Yes.
ahead?
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. All right, those are the only names we have. Any other people wish to speak? Okay, see no hands. All right, let's move to item number 2, Superior Motor Services Waiver of Land Development. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the applicant's proposed improvements consist of the creation of a leasehold on and around the back portion of the property to store towed vehicles, which will be enclosed by a fence of at least 6 feet in height to secure the lot. Representing the applicant tonight is Mr. Mike Bradley.
Good evening, gentlemen. That is correct. I'm here on behalf of the owner of the property, which is 9650 Lincoln Highway LLC, who unfortunately couldn't make it today. Also, the proposed tenant is Superior Motor Service, who is here tonight, Mr. McCoy. That is correct. We are looking to do no improvements on the property, essentially just to park vehicles in the entire back lot.
Okay. All right. Obviously, we have a resolution. There's not a lot. You're requesting a few waivers, pretty standard waivers, street trees, sidewalks, existing features within 200 feet. Mr. Sullivan, any concerns from you about the waivers?
No concerns, Mr. Hardy.
Okay. All right. Board members, any comments or questions for Mr. Bradley?
No questions.
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is a pretty straightforward plan. Any public comment? See none. Okay, this would be resolution 18-27.
27.
Okay, if there are no questions, is there a motion to approve resolution 1827, giving the waiver of land development to 965 Lincoln Highway?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3 is consider proposal from Remington Vernick Engineers for the Green Light Go and Arley grants. Mr. Gray.
The township received a proposal from Mr. Chris Fazio at Remington Vernick Engineers for engineering services to provide a grant application for a PennDOT Green Light Go grant, as well as an Arley grant. The Green Light Go project would be at West Trenton Avenue and Alden Avenue. It would be an intersection improvement project, and the Arley grant would be at the Fallsington Elementary. It would be a school zone solar-powered flashing system. The Green Light Go grant is a matching 80%, 20% grant. Township would be required to provide 20%. The total of the proposal is $4,500. The board is asked to consider this proposal. In addition, Mr. Chris Fazio is here for any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, Mr. Fazio, if you wouldn't mind coming and just giving a little idea how this might benefit the people that go through that intersection, West Trenton and Arley, or Arley.
No, absolutely. So regarding the intersection improvements, it would include ADA accessibility improvements, re-signalization, retiming, reconfiguration of the intersection. Right now, it's rather old and antiquated. There's definitely improvements that can be realized by adding putting some money into the intersection, doing some improvements. So it would dramatically improve the safety. For Fallsington Elementary, flashers would be a great traffic calming device to try to slow the speeds down right in front of the school, so there's obvious benefits to that.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Fazio?
None. No.
Is there a limit on the number of intersections we could apply for?
There is no limit, but you would have to prioritize them, and usually they award one grant per cycle. So
Yeah, right. Okay. No questions.
Yeah, we've done a lot of the major, I
Right.
think we've done all the major intersections, really. This is a good-sized intersection, but it's not nearly the size of, some like Hood and New Falls or some of those. I guess the question we had, I know we looked at the crossing, the flashing signals near Fallsington before, and the prices were really, really high. And I guess maybe the hope is now that, is this something we can use, just having solar, using solar power things, just standard flashers, or you push them flash rather than sort of the whole, school zone timing, all that kind of thing. This should be a little more cost effective, you think?
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's going to be a little more cost effective for you.
Okay.
That with the grant, hopefully it makes it an affordable project for the township.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good.
Yeah, no,
Comments or
good.
questions? No? Okay, is there any public comment? See no hands. Mr. Frazee, I'm going to ask you to wait just a second after we vote, if you don't mind. I was gonna
Absolutely.
ask you another question while
Sure.
you're there. All right, so is there a motion then to accept the proposal from Minton Vernick in the amount of $4,500 for the grant application for PennDOT Green Light Go and also the Arlie grant for the elementary school?
So moved?
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
So
Thank you.
we've had some complaints, and I've talked to you before in conjunction with some things I'm hearing from Middletown Township about the lights at Lincoln Highway and Oxford Valley Road and how they were changed, and it's causing some real traffic problems. I know you've been talking a little bit with PennDOT. Can you just give us a kind of a quick update of where we are with that?
I'm happy to do it. We reached out to the person who really controls that process. His name is Fran Haney with PennDOT. Very nice individual, always been helpful to the township. And what we did was also reached out to Middletown Township, to Phil Worsta, their traffic engineer, to say we need to get together and really resolve this issue. Fran sent us to a few of his folks, had conversations with them. We're now back in Fran's court again, and we're trying to get a meeting together with Fran, some of his representatives, and also Phil with TPD to talk about the issue. PennDOT made a statement that they did make some tweaks to it that they hope help, but we definitely want to sit down and make sure that the township's, important position on this is heard.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like it's helped. We're getting complaints from people that live in Frails Hills that go that way, that the traffic is just backed up on Oxford Valley, and sort of up, past the, where the office complex, and so it definitely seems like, I don't know if their solution was much of a solution, but so hoping we can get some progress on that. But thank you for the work
Yep.
you've done so far.
No, happy to do it. Understood. I know it's an important issue.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Take care.
All right, item 4 is consider purchase of vehicles for the police department. Mr. Gray?
Police Department has secured quotes for the purchase of 3 vehicles from New Holland Ford. They include 2 2019 Police Interceptor utility vehicles, both for $43,930, and a third vehicle for $18,950. The purchase of the 2 Police Interceptor utility vehicles would be applied against the 2019 budget, is on the CoStar's list, and the township would not take inventory or make payment until the 2019 calendar year. The third vehicle would go against the 2018 budget and is on CoStar's. The board is asked to consider the purchase of these 3 vehicles for the total amount of $106,818 from New Holland Ford. In addition, Lieutenant Pletnick is here for any questions the board may have.
Just so for board members to be aware, there is an added detail of what that third vehicle, the $18,958 vehicle is. It's going to be used by detectives, and so we're purposely kind of avoiding mentioning what kind of car it is, since we don't know what they'll be using it for. So just to, comments or questions from Mr. Gray or Lieutenant Pletnick? Mr. Regalo?
No, straightforward.
Okay.
None, thank you.
Sorry, Lieutenant Pletnick, you got all dressed up for nothing. All right, so then is there a motion to purchase the 3 vehicles for the police department, 1 this year, 2 for next year, in the amount of $106,818 from New Holland Ford?
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, we're now entering the Ms. Gallagher portion of the program. Okay. So over the past few years, Ms. Gallagher has worked a lot with the engineers here at the township, as well as the code enforcement officer, identifying various inconsistencies and issues in the many, many ordinances we have that deal with land development and things like zoning, trees, and when they can be cut down and when they can't be, and things of that nature. So we're looking at we've advertised before, but we're looking at some changes here, and we'll have her explain them as we go through them. The first one, though, is just authorizing advertisement. And so we're going to just, but it's tied in with the other bigger part. So, Ms. Gallagher, do you want to talk about item number 5, please?
Certainly. Item number 5 has to do with tax map parcel 13-015-001. 2022-005, which is 515 South Olds Boulevard. The property has been zoned LR, low-density residential, for a number of years, but the property has actually been used consistent with other zoning. It's been medical and dental offices, and the property owner would like to continue to be able to use the property consistent with different zoning regulations. So in consultation with the engineer's office, we determined that NC, the neighborhood commercial district, would be a more appropriate zoning for that parcel and the surrounding parcels as well. So this ordinance would rezone that parcel from LR to NC, and the property owner is pleased with that change in designation and would request that the board rezone that parcel.
Okay. So we're just authorizing advertisement for this right now.
That's correct.
Okay. Comments or questions from Ms. Gallagher?
None?
Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion and,
One hand, Bob.
where? Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, you're good.
Good. Yeah, we're voting to allow you to come up to speak. That's fine.
Tony Batiste, resident, Falls Township. 515 South Old, you said that's where the old, used to be the Fairless Hills Medical Building, the yellow building,
Right, yes.
but you said also the surrounding area. What does that constitute?
The parcels that neighbor that property are not zoned LR. Right now, it's kind of an island of LR that's surrounded by some NC, some business professional, and a couple other zoning districts in that general vicinity. In the zoning rewrite that is going to be a later agenda item and actually will be considered in December 18th, the business professional district is being eliminated completely, so a lot of those parcels are also being rezoned to NC.
But they're residential now, correct?
Not the residential parcels. The residential parcels are staying as they are.
What about the area that is there behind the swimming pool? And beside it,
I mean, the wooded area, the county.
the
property.
wooded area,
It's just that this ordinance is just about this parcel,
just this parcel?
that parcel.
So not the surrounding?
Correct.
Now, there's different ordinances that are in place that have to do with eliminating the BP district, but if they're not those parcels are not zoned BP, their zoning is not being changed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Ms. Gallagher was kind of referencing the fact that this parcel, for some reason, compared to what's around it, isn't really zoned the way it should be zoned. And so we're changing it to a more friendly zoning for the owner himself to be able to use it. Otherwise, he has to keep coming to us, to the township, asking for ability to use what was a medical office. I mean, I remember going there to get my braces done, years ago, to use it as a medical office, but it's been a medical office. So it's really trying to straighten out.
Okay,
For
but
some
just
reason,
specifically that
Correct.
property? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any other hands? Okay, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so we'd have, do we have a motion and a second to authorize advertisement?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so item 6 is consider adopting ordinance amending Chapter 209 zoning. Gallagher, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. This ordinance is a proposed sweeping change to the zoning ordinance. This was forwarded up to the Bucks County Planning Commission as well as the Township's Planning Commission. There were several changes that were recommended, and there was also there are several zoning map changes, and we'll need to post the properties that are going to be affected with that notice. The property owners were notified, but the properties were not posted. So we're recommending that this be tabled to a date certain of December 18th, 2018. And the ordinance can be re-advertised to incorporate all of the Bucks County Planning Commission recommended changes, and the properties can be posted next week, consistent with the municipality's planning code.
Okay. Is there a motion to table item 6 till December 18th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 7, consider adopting ordinance amending Chapter 191 subdivision and land development, which is referred to as SALDO.
Thank you. There are several changes to the subdivision and land development ordinance that are set forth in the ordinance. Really what we're doing is cleaning up a lot of provisions that were either inconsistent with the zoning code or inconsistent with the stormwater management ordinance. We've actually shifted all of the stormwater provisions over to stormwater management so that somebody coming into the township knows exactly where to go to find that. We've cleaned up a lot of the definitions. One example that we cleaned up, the size of parking stalls for new development was different in the zoning code versus the subdivision and land development ordinance. So the board was constantly granting a waiver for that section for that reason. So we made them consistent. We've added the Township of Falls Authority as to the distribution list for the circulation of new applications, that they're able to generate a review and make sure that they're involved in the project. We've cleaned up traffic impact study requirements. We've cleaned up driveway requirements, lighting requirements. Sidewalks have been revised to increase the minimum width from 4 feet to 5 feet, and to require aprons, including those at any pedestrian access point, comply with PennDOT handicap ramp regulations. A lot of this is already required at a level higher than ours, but this way it's set forth in our ordinance. This ordinance was also forwarded up to the Bucks County Planning Commission, who recommended a few minor changes. So we would suggest that if the board is inclined to approve this ordinance tonight, it be done with the following changes. The definitions of impervious surface, lot, street, use, yard, front yard, rear yard, and side yard be revised to mirror the definitions that are contained in the zoning ordinance. Section 191-18.1, which has to do with the waiver of the land development process. We would recommend that a copy of the plan be forwarded to the Bucks County Planning Commission, consistent with the provisions of the municipality's planning code. And then section 191-79, the plan size, instead of being 18 by 24 inches, it should be 24 by 36 inches, which is what is required by the Recorder of Deeds.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board members?
No.
Any public comment? See no hands. Okay, so this would be ordinance number 18-5. And a motion should, if a motion's made, is there a motion rather, to approve ordinance 18-5, including the Bucks County Planning Commission recommendations mentioned by Ms. Gallagher?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Alright. And I know I talked earlier with Ms. Gallagher, item number 8, I think we're going to table that as well.
Yes, in speaking to Mr. Jones, we've discovered some substantive changes that should be made to this ordinance. They can be made and advertised in time for the December 18th meeting, so we recommend that this be tabled to that date.
Okay. Is there a motion to table item 8 till December 18th?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item number 9 is considered adopting the ordinance amending Chapter 122, which is earth disturbance.
Thank you. This is a complete rewrite of the earth disturbance regulation and is designed to update the grading permit application process and to incorporate the current regulatory scheme to ensure compliance with state regulations and stormwater management. Certain activities are exempt from the permit requirements, and the specific requirements for permit applications are set forth in the ordinance. Another ordinance that's going to be considered tonight is the Tree Protection Standards Ordinance, and that's going to be incorporated into this new earth disturbance permit process, and will, depending on the application, might require approval of the Bucks County Conservation District, or DEP. The ordinance also requires access easements in favor of the township for the purpose of access, inspection, and, where necessary, maintenance of stormwater management facilities. Other than that, there is some cleanup in this ordinance, but those are the major highlights of the changes.
Okay. Comments or questions from Ms. Gallagher?
None.
No.
Yeah, does this affect in-ground pools?
Yes.
How does it affect it?
They would be required to obtain the earth disturbance permit. They're required currently under the current standard, so it's no change for them.
Is it any more inconvenient, or is it any more money?
No, it shouldn't be, no.
Okay. No, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, any public comment? See no hands. Okay, this is, wait, I just had it written down. This is 18-6, correct?
Yes.
All right, so is there a motion then to adopt ordinance 18-6?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Next is consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 170 to regulate pods and dumpsters.
This is going to be a completely new ordinance for the township. It's going to regulate dumpsters and portable storage units, requiring a permit, assessing a permit fee, and limiting the duration of use of such units. The township's current code does not provide for these uses, so this is something that allows us to make sure that they are complying with the standards that are in the ordinance. It does provide for an exemption for any dumpster or pod that will be on the property for under 30 days.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from Ms. Gallagher on this one?
No.
Yeah, I have two questions.
No.
So we're now requiring a permit fee for these things?
Correct, when they're going to be there for more than 30 days.
Oh, if they're, only if they're there for more than 30 days?
Correct.
Okay. And is there a time limit or,
I believe the max is 60 days, and that can be extended at the discretion of the township.
okay. All right, that was it. Thanks.
And would the code doesn't include as well the restriction on pods or dumpsters being sort of out of the street unless there is some kind of situation where it just can't possibly be anywhere else but in the street. Usually these have to be on driveways, they have to be off the roadway. People use these obviously if they're doing major renovations on their house, if they've had sort of something like a house fire, people that are moving. Sometimes people get pods to move all their furniture out of a home, renovate the home, then move the furniture back in, things of that nature. So they are designed to be temporary, but as Ms. Gallagher said, our ordinance says nothing about them right now, and so they kind of we don't have any ability to restrict where they are, how long they're there, or anything else about them because they're not in any of our ordinances. So now they will be. So, comments or questions from the public? All right, this is Resolution 18-7. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next item, consider adopting ordinance amending Chapter 182, Rights of Way.
This ordinance is a complete rewrite of Chapter 182 and is designed to be a complement to the new wireless communications provision included in the zoning rewrite that the board will consider on the 18th. The right-of-way ordinance regulates all facilities, including cable franchise facilities, or other than wireless communications facilities that were installed within the public right-of-way, provides for an application and permit renewal process, collection and permit fees, construction and abandonment standards, and enforcement provisions.
Okay.
So wireless facilities are governed by the telecommunications ordinance. This covers everything else.
Okay. All right, thank you. Comments or questions for Ms. Gallagher on this one?
No, it's all good.
Okay.
None, thank you.
Public comment? See your hands. Okay, this is Resolution 18-8. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, consider adopting ordinance Chapter 199, establishing tree protection standards.
This ordinance establishes protection and preservation standards for existing trees and does not limit it to street trees required by the subdivision and land development ordinance. This ordinance would encompass situations that wouldn't necessarily require an earth disturbance permit. So the removal of trees of over 5,000 square feet would trigger this ordinance and require that the tree protection standards be met. It prohibits clear cutting, contains replacement provisions, sets limits of disturbance, and requires submissions of a tree survey plan for any application for an earth disturbance permit, demolition permit, building permit, subdivision, land development, or zoning change application. There are a couple of exceptions listed in the ordinance. The tree survey plan is subject to review and approval by the Shade Tree Commission, which is empowered to determine the extent to which replacement trees must be installed. The ordinance also provides for enforcement remedies and penalties for violations.
Okay, comments or questions from the board?
None.
Okay.
So do these need to be installed anywhere we want or on the site?
Typically, it's on the site. We're not empowered to require off-site improvements, but for shade trees, this would be for on-site.
Right. I mean, my thought is if they're clearing the land, and it looks like there's some credits, number of trees based on caliper size of the trunk. Why would would there be enough room on the property if they're clearing it for development?
Well, the idea is that they come in, for development, obviously, it's going to be a different story. What this is trying to, and that's going to require subdivision and land development approval. What this ordinance is trying to target is just going in and clearing a lot, not tied to development. There have been a couple of situations in the township where that did happen, and while the county conservation district was able to come in, the township really didn't have any remedy because we didn't have an ordinance like this in place. So this is really meant to target situations where there is no earth disturbance, there's no land development application, so that the township can make sure that we're aware of what's going on as far as that clear cutting.
Okay, and the land development, do we require, does it reference this as well?
Yes, there is a cross-reference to the land development.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any public comment? See no hands. Okay, this is ordinance 18-9. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. Well, before I forget, I want to thank Ms. Gallagher for all the hard work she's put in over the past couple of years on this. Obviously, a few more of these to approve at our next meeting, but it really has been a few years of work. You know, the zoning and other ordinances are about like that thick, to go through every one page by page and look for any inconsistencies, and obviously the help of the engineers here that we employ, and Tom Bennett, our zoning and code officer as well, and his staff. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Certainly.
Okay. And thank you, Mr. Clark, for all the work you did on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. It's been very difficult watching Ms. Gallagher work this hard.
I'm sure. All right. So item 13, minutes from November 20th. Comments or questions, corrections?
Good.
Okay. Excellent minutes as always. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 20th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Executive session we had earlier. Manager comment.
Yes, just one item tonight. I just want to announce that Superior Motors Mylars are ready for signature.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board comment. Mr. Rocco?
I have none. Thank you for a good night.
Okay. Mr. Brasky?
Oh, thank you.
All right. Mr. Galloway?
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay. A couple things for me. I do want to thank the residents of Falls Township who have been going through some, including our manager, who have been going through some difficult times with Pennsylvania American Water over the past several days. You know, working a lot with newly elected State Senator Steve Sinicero, and through Mr. Gray as well, working with, you know, conference calls with Pennsylvania American. As you saw in the newspapers, I think it was today, they did have some kind of a mechanical failure that caused some problems at their facility, which is located in Lower Makefield. There are about a little over 1,000 connections in Falls Township. That's not, you know, doesn't mean 1,000 people. That means 1,000 connections. So a house is a connection. A business could be a connection. There are about, was it 11,000 in Lower Makefield? Something like that?
11,263.
Yeah, 11,263 in Lower Makefield. And Marsville had a little under 1,000, or Yardley had a little under 1,000, sorry. So the schools obviously were affected. You know, because you need water to sort of, you know, serve kids lunches and provide water for kids throughout the course of the day. Pennsylvania American delivered immense amounts of water to the Pennsbury schools that were affected. Didn't affect all the Pennsbury schools, but it affected quite a few of them. But you know, we appreciate the patience of the residents here in Falls for going through that, putting up with it. Obviously, it's you know, Pennsylvania American's a private company, so we don't really have any control over what they do or, you know, or their systems. So clearly there's some fault on their side, and they acknowledge that, and they're working to the best of their ability to make things happen as soon as they could. So I appreciate, again, all the patience and apologies, even though there's really not much we can do about it, but apologies for the difficulties over the past few days. We have a letter of interest in the Community and Economic Development Commission from Richard Laventhal, and who's also a member of our Traffic Advisory Commission. He's interested in taking part in the CEDC, and I think most of us know him a little bit anyway. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Mr. Laventhal to whatever the longest term is on the CEDC.
I'll second that motion.
All right, any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And finally, just want to recognize for our members of our community of the Jewish faith, Happy Hanukkah. We're into, I think, the third night or fourth night. Started Sunday night, so, third night. So Happy Hanukkah for everybody here in Falls Township. And we do have one more meeting before the Christmas season, so we'll wish Merry Christmas to everybody else at that time. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I love meetings like that.